The original Luddites weren't fighting innovation. They were fighting power. Well, this week on the rundown, this week the rundown is going to ask, who still has the right to say no to technology? From people guarding their attention to workers facing AI to towns fighting about data centers. We're also going to dig into the emerging case for religious AI exemptions at work and where it breaks down. Not anti-tech, not tech-utopian, just the question underneath it all. Progress for whom? Let's get after it. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the rundown. If you can hear me online, give a shout out in the chat. Say hello. Good to see you. Good to have all of you here with us. Fantastic. Mandy Van, welcome. Good to see you here. Who else am I welcoming? We got a few different. Peter Sargent, Jeffrey Wilshire. Hello. Lois Richter. Hello. Hey, speaking of Lois Richter, look who that is. Hi, Lois.
Hello.
Gorgeous background.
Well, I'm experimenting. I have a second monitor. I have a new camera. I have a background. We'll see how it goes. So there's a lot of stuff here. So I might be a little bit slow on the uptake.
Yeah, it's all good. You may want to move your mic a little. You may want to move. You'll be a Luddite. You may want to move your mic a little closer to you. But hey, what camera did you get? What are you using?
Oh, this is the Link one.
The Link, the 360 Link, Insta 360. Oh, fantastic! Wonderful.
And I figured out a spot to put it where I think it's working okay.
Fantastic.
Am I in focus? Is my background in focus?
I think you look focused. I think you look fantastic. Yeah. And you look just as good as Tamara Pika. Hello, Tamara.
Lois looks fantastic.
Lois looks fantastical.
Thank you.
How you doing, Tamara?
I'm doing great.
Tamara, I was just in your neck of the woods. I was in San Francisco this past week. Yeah.
You were north of me.
For 2 whole days.
By a lot, but I love that.
By a lot, yeah. For 2 whole days. And it was lovely.
I'm bummed that you weren't closer in my neck.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's on my list to meet everybody on these panels. I probably have the closest with Lois and John Edelson.
As long as Leo Mindell stays far away, we can do it in the continent, in North America somewhere.
Exactly.
We just need Leo. Don't come anywhere near us anymore. Leo, you're always welcome. Just like Tony Mobley. Wow, long time no see, friend.
Yes, it's been such a long time.
Such a long time.
A long.
You know that
time.
I got off last night. And now I can't even remember, but I got off last night and I immediately remembered a cool feature that I forgot to mention. We had a really cool conversation last night about the different uses for Canva, and these companies are changing so quickly and so much. It's so hard to keep up with all of them.
And I want to thank you so much. I think it was a great conversation.
Are you kidding me? I love it.
For educators.
I love hanging out with you. So much fun. And let's say hi to Dave Troutman. Hello, Mr. Dave.
Hello from up north. I'm probably farthest away from all of you, including Mr. Mobley, because, I'm not in your country.
But you know what? I heard someone say the other day, the best Americans are Canadians, which I thought was really nice. No, he doesn't like that. Okay.
I
don't know.
I don't know. It may not be a Canadian who said that.
No, you're right about that. It was absolutely not a Canadian who said that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right. We love a good jest.
Well, you know who's with us this week, which is such a treat. Such a treat. Oh, he's not there. Hold on. I forgot to switch this. Ready? Magic. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. Look at that. That was it. Now that's an entrance, my friend. Right there.
That's an entrance. What can I say?
John, how are you, sir?
And a prop.
I'm just a little wetting my whistle. No, it's good to be here, and David, next time you're in San Francisco, come on down a couple hours and visit beautiful Monterey Bay. Even Leo's done that.
Wow. Just a couple hours down. I would have. I was visiting my mom, and I only had 2 days, and my brother, so we didn't have a lot of time. But
Mothers come first.
mothers do come first. Hey, you know what I learned before we get to the news? So my brother, I've talked about this. My brother and my sister-in-law are both AI engineers. My brother did his PhD in artificial intelligence 25 years ago, and they both work at Google. So every time I go to talk to visit my brother, I'm learning from him. I learned this. Does anyone know what GPT in ChatGPT stands for?
Oh, wait, I did.
General purpose something or other.
General purpose something. It's actually, I think it's generative. Generative something. The T is the one that I know. Wait, GPT in ChatGPT. It's generative pre-trained transformer. And apparently the transformer was the big discovery that led to LLMs and everything that we talk about today in AI. It's called a program called a transformer. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow,
and
I
it's
didn't know
in
that
the
either.
name ChatGPT.
All
So
right, we can all go now.
all
We've
right,
learned
that's
this.
it.
Okay.
show's over. All right,
Yeah.
let's get into it. A couple stories this week that we want to talk about. First of all, there was a little bit of a back and forth, and Mark Zuckerberg of Meta fame wrote an article, an op-ed in the Washington Post entitled "The AI Future is for Everyone." And I think that he wrote this in part because some of the big AI guys, like from Anthropic and even from OpenAI, are suggesting, and this past week have suggested, maybe we should slow down a little bit. Maybe we should not let every new LLM, every new model, out into the open. And Mark's argument was, no, actually, the question is not whether it's going to be developed. It's who's going to control it. And we should not be restricting access. It should be widely distributed to empower us so that we can be the owners of this AI. And it was really an argument against this doomerism that I think a lot of people are seeing. I don't know if any of you watch or listen to Jon Stewart's, what is it, This Week with Jon Stewart? I forget what it's called. Is it This Week with Jon Stewart?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. He had...
This week is not Jon Stewart. That's the British guy.
No, it
That's
is...
last week. That's
last week
right.
tonight.
This week is Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show is Jon Stewart,
Show.
exactly. So this past week, he had on Cory Doctorow, who's been a regular on the Twit Network, and it was an amazing discussion between the two of them. And one of the things that John pointed out is that Cory, some of what Cory Doctorow writes about and talks about, was able to pull John out of his doomerism a little about AI. So I don't know. I mean, what we didn't, full disclosure, I did not paste the whole article in here because it's behind a paywall and I didn't want anyone to, so I sort of summarized it for us. But I don't know, any takes on Mark Zuckerberg being the voice of, let's give everyone AI, it's all going to be okay?
Oh, he's such a scholarly fellow. We should listen to everything he says because, he's been right every single time. Meta was changed to Meta. Oh, I'm sorry. Facebook was changed to Meta. No, wait a minute. No, it used to be the Facebook.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
let me say- Okay, he keeps changing his mind about what's going on. And I'm sorry, but I've given up listening to the data interpreter.
Really?
Yeah. Well, data from Star Trek. Anyway.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't take anything he says as gospel at all.
Well, I don't think any of us take anything as gospel either, but
Yeah. CEOs are
just-
usually quite out of touch. I just want to say this sort of thing.
I just feel like every week it's one of the big CEOs making a declaration that has some truth to it. But every week, it becomes harder and harder to kind of feel like it's an altruistic or even scholarly like approach, because and it's not even that I agree or disagree, because oftentimes I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with what they're saying over at Anthropic. Oh yeah, I totally agree with this, but I just don't. It just doesn't feel authentic given the long history of things. So it's almost like, even if it is authentic, even if he's like, I really feel like I've got to say something because this is really important that people know this. It's just hard to kind of with any of them. I don't think any of them are better or worse than the other at this point.
He didn't just pull the short straw this week, did he? Yeah.
Right.
Maybe he did. By the way, Mickey, I just
Your
turned
turn.
myself down. I hope that helps, Mickey.
I didn't understand if he was actually saying that we, the folks using it, should be, involved in all that stuff, or whether it was I, the owner of this
Ah.
company, should be deciding what happens to people. So I didn't understand what it meant or said, and I probably wouldn't have believed it anyway.
You know what's interesting about that, Lois, is I hadn't thought about this before, but Mark is making this, Zuckerberg is making this argument really from the perspective of a bit of an outsider in the AI world. I know that they have their own models and stuff like that, but his models certainly are not considered, they're not the ones that anyone I think really goes to. And so when he says AI should not be reserved for, it shouldn't be concentrated in a few hands. I wonder if what he's saying is exactly what you just said. It shouldn't be concentrated in those guys' hands. Concentrate a
want
little bit of
some
it
of
in
it.
my hand. Yeah.
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 Well, and also, you're not making as much money off of the elite people who are in this conversation as you are the rest of the rest of us, right? I mean, if we use Google, they're using us as the product, and they get a lot of money out of us, even if we're not paying for that product. So I think that it's hard. Again, it's like, wherever his motivations are coming from, when you're talking about a guy who's like, Facebook isn't a chargeable thing. So they're making money off of the fact that my feed is now 100% or 99.9% ads, right? Or things I did not put in there or elect to. So it's hard to know where that's coming from. It's like, yeah, if it's just a bunch of, elite business people, we're not making money in the way that he's been making money. Like, he has no shot of making money from that. So it's just that's the part where I'm like, you could be correct. Like, some of the stuff you're saying, I agree with. I think it should be for all. I don't think it should be gate kept in certain ways. But it's hard. It's
Yeah.
one of the hard
But
parts.
it's difficult though with technology, where take new drugs, a new drug idea comes out and they don't give it to everybody. They try it for a little while to see what's happening. So since we really don't know some of the risks and dangers and challenges, maybe some constraint in the rollout of these technologies. You may remember back in the 60s with the birth defects with the thalidomide babies, where a new drug came out, was made more widely available before they adequately tested and knew what the impact was. So it should be for everybody. How rapidly we roll it out may depend on what risks there are
Right.
when we roll it out.
Yeah. Agreed 100%. Okay. So a different type of story, which I'm going to admit I don't fully understand. Apparently, Apple is now leasing phones to people, or they're thinking about leasing phones. So,
Oh no, it was announced that they're going to be leasing phones.
Yeah.
so
You're talking about a subscription service, aren't you?
No, it's a bit of a rent to own concept.
okay.
Right.
That you
Yeah.
can rent for a couple of years, and then if you want to buy the rest out anytime you can afford it, then you can buy the whole thing.
and it will
Also,
cost
that,
more.
It's the same cost.
No, it's
Like,
going
there's
to no because you're paying
interest,
interest.
there's no interest charge to renew.
No, it's definitely going to cost more. Really?
No,
Nope,
I think
it'll
they
cost
said it
the
was
same.
just the
And if
cost
you
is
don't,
the cost.
yeah, if you want to continue, you can renew with your next phone and start again.
Well, no, that doesn't make any sense.
The-
How are they
the-
making
there
money?
is a-
Sure.
there is a problem with it from the standpoint that it is a lease, and at the end of the lease, then you have the option of turning it in, starting over, or paying off the balance.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really. It's
Well,
not
that's how I
really a
bought my
good
first
thing.
television.
It's not really. It's not really a good thing for people who have budget issues, because
but
the issue is that you're able to make the lease payments at a very low price,
Yeah.
but at the end you have to if you want to keep it, then you have to pay off the balance, and so you're paying a little for
For a
24
while.
to 36 months, but then
Mhm.
whatever that balance is, if you want to keep it, you have to pay that.
all right, so,
But
so
why would
here's
you want to keep it if you could just roll it over for a new one?
right.
and
Here's
start
let me give
paying the
some
same
numbers.
amount?
Hold on, let me give some numbers here. So this is according to Android Authority. So assuming, let's take a 10,000, 10,000,
That's an
excuse me,
authority I visit every week.
a
yes.
$1,099 iPhone 17 Pro. Okay, that's the example we're using. Assuming that similar resale prices, you can expect to get back around $550 after 2 years of use. So you buy it outright, you turn it back in, you get about $550 as a credit. My wife, just when we were in California, she had an old iPhone 13, I think. She turned in, she got like $600 credit toward a new iPhone 17. It was ridiculous. Okay? That leaves your out-of-pocket cost at around $550, meaning you've purchased it, then you, after 2 years, you sold it back, you ended up spending around $550. Under the Apple upgrade, a 24-month lease is $32 a month, totaling $768. That means buying the phone outright and reselling it after 2 years can save you around $218. But that doesn't take into account that you're just paying $32 a month. And we all know from all of our Netflix and Apple and everything subscriptions that, you know, when they're just quietly charging you $30 a month, it's easy to not worry about that.
My landline was $30 a month,
Right.
and I didn't
And-
own a
But-
phone.
and
I
with-
only
But I think
rented
there's
the
a-
phone. Yeah.
There's a different issue here that, buying a car and leasing a car is different. And for different people, sometimes buying the car makes more sense financially, depending on how long they want to keep the car, the cost of the car, resale value versus leasing. I think for phones, we've always had strange pricing. For the longest time, it was like razor blades. The phones were given away by the phone companies who paid for them because they knew they would get their money back during the service. Things are getting stranger now. The phones are getting more expensive. So I don't see this as anything more exciting than, do you lease a car? Do you lease, do you buy a car? Do you lease your phone? Do you buy a phone? I go through do I trade it in? Do I not trade it in? Do I buy insurance or not? It's just another vehicle that hopefully is making it easier for customers to really know what they're paying, when, and where.
Go ahead,
And
Lois.
the end value of it, once you're finished with it, might be lower than you expected because you crack something or you have some nicks on the back and all the rest. So, yeah, they might say, well, it's not worth $300 because it's not in pristine condition. So you have to pay the differential.
Go ahead, Lois.
There is a
Well,
rub, though.
Hold on a
One of the
second.
There-
Wait. Hold on. I got it, Lois in. Sorry.
I'm actually using the
You're
hub
using the
and
hand.
pushing the
She's
note.
using the hand.
Yeah, it's my new anti-Luddite thing. So, so one of the things that I have always liked about Apple is when I buy something, I never have to pay for a wizard to come and fix it because it's included. And if something happens, I just call them up and say something happened, and they tell me how to fix it over the phone. Or if that doesn't work, I can take it into the store. And it's like, so my question is now, if they're going to do this lease thing, is that $35 a month including service calls and phone
Does not
support
include
and
Apple
stuff
Care.
like that?
Yeah, it doesn't
So
include Apple
that'll
Care,
be
so
that
you'd
would
have to
be
add that.
something to consider.
Mhm.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't include Apple Care. There's no doubt about that. That would be something. If they bundled Apple Care with it, but I might lease instead of buy then, even if it cost me a little more money. That's actually a really interesting idea, Lois. John, go ahead.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
He raised his hand.
Yeah, you raised your hand. That's why.
Scary,
right.
scary. Sorry
No,
about
I'll
that.
put you down. It's all right. Okay. So leasing or buying, it's up to you. It's up to you what you want to do with it. Before we jump into our main topic, Tamara has a very important update for us about our robot overlords who are coming into our classrooms.
Not quite so quick. As of after our conversation last week, where we introduced the idea that New York was paying $58,000 to bring a robot teacher friend into the classroom, they have held off on that a little bit. They decided to hold the brakes because they had a lot of pushback from various
From us.
places, from everybody but the bots. So that has been put on hold, and we will not be seeing our robot friends in the classroom in New York
Yet. I'm sure it's coming, but yet. Yeah. And Tamara and I were talking, I'd like to think that we played a part in their decision.
I think we did, obviously.
I think for sure.
You wonder how many New York teachers watch this show.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I taught in New York, so maybe a couple.
Definitely a couple. So a couple weeks ago, Lois made a suggestion that we think and talk about the modern day Luddite, who gets to say no to technology. And that same day, an article came across my desk from a clergy person, a rabbi that I really respect, about a religious exemption, the idea of a religious exemption from technology in the workplace. So we wanted to talk about who gets to say no to technology and who are the new Luddites of today. Lois, can I put you on the spot? Would you be willing to just sort of bring us into this conversation a little bit?
Okay. So Luddite is one of those words that has several meanings and over the years has had different meanings. And I will let Dave Paskin talk about the historical Luddites, how that came about, what they were doing, etc. But then the term came into general use as someone who was either opposed to technology. No phones in my house. I won't have a television. Or it can be used as a derogatory term, meaning someone is too stupid to understand all this stuff. And so it sort of wavered around our culture a little bit. And then now there are people who are self-described as new Luddites. So those are the three kinds of Luddites. And David, can you give us the historical perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a historian, but essentially in the early 19th century in England, the textile workers were, they introduced new machinery into the textile factories. And the employers, the employers saw that introduction as a way to reduce wages, weaken apprenticeship, and craft standards, and to degrade working conditions. And so they said no. They in many ways they went on strike, and they were called the Luddites. Their argument, their complaint was not about the machine itself, but about the social arrangement that was built around it. And that's where I think our conversation is interesting, because
it's a power struggle.
It's a power struggle, and it's a power struggle in different way for different audiences. For some people, it's about work. It's my job security or work value. For other people, it's about sort of connection and speaking to a human being. It's the frustration of having to deal with a bot on the phone when you I just want to talk to a human being. For other people, it's financial. For other people, it's about these data centers and the environment or civilization. There are so many different ways that people are resisting. We saw a little bit of this, and I probably didn't frame it well when we talked about it before. But remember when we were talking about the universities and the kids who were, during graduations, how the kids were standing up and walking out on the Google CEO or, booing whenever they said AI. Those were some young adult Luddites in some ways pushing back on this new technology. So who are Lois, are you a Luddite? Do you think of yourself in that way?
Occasionally I will say I'm a Luddite when I'm talking about someone and they look at me like, well, what do you mean you don't use Snapchat or you don't use WhatsApp or you don't use whatever the fad of the moment is? Or when they find out I'm a Quaker and I sit in meetings silently and, and then they think, well, that's very weird and you're not very technologically savvy. And I'm going, I guess I'm a Luddite, but let me teach you how to use this.
Yeah. I
And so it's a term of, uh, I use it because it could be a derogatory term if people don't understand why some technology is better than others and why turning off your television might be a good thing if you have kids and you don't want them on watching it for, hours on end, which is what was happening with people my age when I was young.
We should also distinguish, by the way, between Luddites that, at least the way I think of it, is they push back against technology for a cause or for a reason, and people like you and I who just don't get Snapchat. Like I don't get it,
no,
but I don't
I
actively
push back for a reason.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Then let me
Yep.
just speak for myself. There are I'm embarrassed to say this, but I don't get Instagram. I just don't get it. And so I don't push back. I don't care, but I'm just not on it. But that I don't think makes me a Luddite. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm a conscientious objector, actually, in this regard, because I made a good living cautioning people not to expect too much from their media devices. Those fears included, starts at comic books, rock music, television, video games, arcades, computers, and now VR gaming and AI. Everybody's afraid of the new thing, like they were, like it's what are they? Oh, gee, I forgot that now. Urban myth. The kind of things, microwave oven kind of urban myths. Some of what I observed with a lot of these people was a disconnect between what people thought was a good life and what people thought they were striving for in modern life. And this I think is the push, that people are striving to be current and up to date and give their kids an advantage, that sort of stuff. And I mean, our family never got into the idea of scheduling our son. He just had free time, and he put it to use in really good ways, and it became a professional gamer. So we let him have free time. He used it, and now it's rewarding him. I actually have signed on to social platforms not to become a participant, but to study it. I went on Facebook long enough to understand how it was working, where the algorithm fit, and then I signed off in 1911. No, not 1921. Sorry.
2011.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you
2011.
signed
Thank
off in
you.
1921, Dave?
Yeah.
He's ahead of the curve.
That's
He's so
quite a
ahead.
long time ago.
Sorry, I got my numbers mixed up there. Yeah, 2011 is when I signed off Facebook because I'd seen what it was doing and I didn't like it, and that was fine. Didn't need to have it. Then a lot of people urging me. I was on Twitter, and I understood what was going on there. And then I moved over to Google Plus, and unfortunately that disappeared. It was too good to be true, so they had to get rid of it. And then we've been doing this Zoom thing for a long time. Well, I got a lot of money teaching people how to do Zoom before it was even the pandemic, so it was easy for me to make the transition. I also think you were talking about Cory Doctorow's conversation with Jon Stewart, and at the end he gave Stewart the positives, that there is a way we can do this. There's a way we can fix this, and the way we can make everyone feel more comfortable slowly adopting a helper called AI. And that was to enact new legislation based on the 1988 legislation about privacy of information, about what you do and what you're part of. We've had our privacy discussions here many times and gone around the circle many times, and it is a disadvantage for some, and we're exploited. But the thought is that if you can control that, then you can control the hype. which is they're telling us lies about what it can do or will do or how it'll affect us. And just like we did today talking about Mr. Zuckerberg, because he wants to stay in the news. He doesn't want to be left behind. He doesn't want to be just working on his project. He wants to make sure that you're excited about it too, so that when it comes time to pay that $5 a month, which you were getting for $1 a month, he'll get that for 4.5 back.
That 1988 law that he had mentioned, that's fantastic. Apparently, movie rental employees are not allowed to disclose your movie rental history. That's the last time that law was updated, which
That's
is just that's fantastic.
Then the World Wide Web came along and tracked us all. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That law was definitely not one we wanted to play around
We
with.
should have outlawed cookies when we had the chance.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, I like cookies, especially chocolate.
Oh, you do? I love the ones with chocolate chips.
We've talked a lot about what technology is allowing employers to do, and the ways in which it the very valid reasons why employees may feel like they want to push back on that. What do you all make about those people who are arguing about that technology is harming me, that it's the tech weary adults or the tech weary teens or children, struggling with convenience versus autonomy? Is that something that you're seeing? Is that real? Were those college kids just? Is that what they were expressing? This a general weariness with the way technology has seeped into every aspect of our lives?
So I've had no less than 4 conversations in this realm this week, and they were in every generation, but the younger generation were so passionately and adamantly against it because, I mean, from an artistic standpoint and from a one of them was so passionate about it and was like, I want to go to the board and have them choose not to use any AI at all. And I was like, whoa, wait. And I realized, like, what I see as a tool to enhance humanity, they genuinely see as a tool that is taking away our creativity, that is taking away our our what it means to be human. And they were really upset. And one of the conversations was with someone who was in marketing, who was like, look, I have seen my industry fall away because of these technologies. So I think there's a lot of economic stress, but then there's also a lot of people who are just fundamentally against everything that it stands for, and some that are really, I mean, obviously hang in the artistic crowd, so there's a lot of artistic people who are like, absolutely not, I don't even want it to be part of my life, I'm absolutely not going to have it part of my life. And when I push just a little bit and be like, let's talk about like some of the ways, I'm not advocating that that we write scripts with it or that we let it be creative, but it can be a tool for brainstorming. Like it can help someone without doing that work for them. And it was like a no-go, to the point where a couple of them were like, listen, I like you, we're friends, let's like just end it here and agree to disagree. I was like, absolutely, you can disagree with me all the time. I said, if you follow me and you watch my stance on this, I disagree with myself every other week on this topic. I go back and forth of how I feel about it. So it is interesting because it was adamant. They were so like, there was no conversation that it could be it was absolutely no go.
Lois,
Well,
go ahead.
part of that, I think, is that young people are passionate about whatever they're passionate about. We have a thing in Davis called the Whole Earth Festival, and I've been involved with that since the 70s. And every year there's a new group of college students. So they're all about the same age every year, but it's a different group. And they get passionate. And if I disagree, then it's like, oh, you're evil, you're against us, you're whatever the bad thing is that would happen that they're passionate against. I get a call to that, even though it's nothing to do with me. So part of what I think's happening now is that young people are expressing themselves in ways that don't make sense to people who are sort of middle of the road, or who are using things a little bit like Tamara. But okay, other than that, what are we going to do about we say the word technology, and there's a whole lot of things that are involved in that young folks don't consider technology, like answering a telephone. You know, when we're talking about AI, well, there's a lot of different kinds of AI, and people aren't distinguishing. I'm sort of rambling here. Let's just say no to AI and be done with it.
I'm not sure that's the answer, but
Well, I could be passionate.
you absolutely can. Roscoe Jones is saying that Indiana banned personal cell phones and tablets and laptops in K through 12. That's really surprising. They can't use them,
LAUSD,
and they
which
can't
is
use
the
them
second
between
largest.
classes.
LAUSD, which is the second largest school district in the country, has banned cell phones in classrooms and has a timetable limit as to how much time you should spend.
And Kansas also, bell to bell, they call it. That's
yeah.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I will say in my school that I run, last year iPads were an essential part of how we taught. This year they're not.
Right.
This year they're going to be secondary. I don't blame the technology for that. I think that it's a combination of. I don't think that screens are as good for kids and learning as I thought they would be. Even the personalization that you can do with them. Second of all, I don't think that teachers really know how to use it well enough. It takes a tremendous amount of training to be able to do it well. So I'm not, I'm in that respect, I'm probably not a Luddite because I do still think that it could have a place. But I mean, this tells me
things with technology in the classroom. However, post-COVID, I think the world has changed. I think that when I was in the classroom where we were introducing certain things of technology, I've had some beautiful, beautiful experiences, particularly with ESL students, where I had a poster making, I think it was called Grok or something, where kids could make posters out of things. And I had them make a poster out of some English assignment. But inside their accounts, I would see that they would do a poster about their science notes, a poster about this one girl from Korea did a poster about the handbook because she was like, I really want you to know about this. And so I've seen some beautiful, beautiful uses of technology, which allowed kids to really learn and grow in different ways. I just think it's so different right now.
Yeah. John, go ahead. Oh, sorry, I was muted. John, go ahead.
Well, I sort of take a different view. And you're saying who can say no to technology. I think the bigger question is who can say yes to technology. And, let's take the technology that makes clean water, plumbing. Basically, there's 2.1 million people who don't have advantage that we know of how to get safe drinking water. That's 6 times the population of the U.S. So here's a technology that's available. Most people said yes to. We might fight whether we put fluoride in it or not, but there's a whole bunch of people who don't even have the choice of taking that technology. I think the same thing sort of is happening here. Yeah, we could have some people who are going to dissent and say, I don't want it. But really, the people who can say yes to the technology here is much limited. And because of the power consumptions, whatever, it's probably going to be a lot of people who aren't going to get to make the decision, am I going to use it or not? It won't be available to them.
Fair enough. I mean, that's Tony has talked a lot about, the inequalities that are a part of just sort of built in, not about to technology, but built into society, built into civilization, that are going to be exacerbated by technology. And some people won't have that access. They won't be able to use it.
Yeah, and it's a hard call. I went to my ear doctor today, and he, said I still have a brain. It's getting smaller. But he also talked about a month he spent in Tanzania. I didn't quite say that right, but anyway, as he's semi-retired and he wanted to get back, and he was talking about the power that the new AI technology is giving to these hospitals that would have been underserved with information and knowledge and resources. So, it's sort of hard to say that's bad, just like I think it would be hard to say it would be bad if we made the technology available for clean drinking water. So we didn't have one in every four people on the earth not having a water to drink. So I don't think it's as simple as that. I think there's personal choices. We have personal choices we can make of whether we adopt or don't adopt, but the societal choices of how do we appropriately use the technology and when do we release it is a much bigger question rather than being a Luddite or not a Luddite, in my humble opinion.
Well, and that's not that larger question that you're talking about. That sort of societal question is not just about how it should be used or who should be using it. It's also about the ramifications of not just using it, but just building it in the first place. Land, transmission lines, electricity, water, noise, local utility costs, these data in July we're ending now this month, July, New York paused state permitting for very large new data centers because they're concerned about their environmental and consumer effects. So I think that societally, there's a Luddite feeling, a Ludditious feeling. I don't know how you'd make Luddite into an adjective, but a feeling that we need to push back against this because it's not good for us. Technology is not good for us, and this is going back to the education piece. I see Ross goes right. Some teachers are exhausted at competing with distractions, while others want to show them how to use the tech effectively. The challenge, I think, the societal challenge that education is facing when it comes to some of this technology is that it's not living up to the promise. The technology is not living up to the yet. It's not living up to the promise of it's going to personalize, it's going to be responsive, it's going to do individualized education, it's going to do all these, it's going to free up the teacher. It's not doing that yet in many, many cases. And so instead...
Are those realistic expectations? Were you putting false
fair
expectations?
Fair enough. But what I'm saying is when you're weighing a data center and all these environmental things against more time for the teacher and better education, it's a bit of a more equal thing. But when you're not getting the what do you call it? The payout, then it's a little less. Let me go in order here. Let me get Dave, and then we'll go back to John, and then over to Lois. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, quite simply, we're back to the question of, is it a tool or is it a task? And is it trying to control us? And I think if we just continue to operate as if it's going to be an assistant for us, that is, we continue to do the important work humans need to be done, and we have an assistant who helps us or makes it easier for us to do it or makes us just better at it. We learn as we go, and it helps us figure things out, and we get to do it better. But sometimes it can be a distraction or a crutch. We lean on these things too much. And you were just mentioning, the concentration of things that will start to employ AI as a key element of its function reminds me of when something like Cloudflare goes offline or Microsoft's servers or AWS goes down in a region, everything stops. Now, if it's all going to be on AI, are we going to have the skilled people on board to be able to pick up a piece of paper and take over and make sure that everything continues to operate until we get our AI back? I look at the institutional knowledge that gets lost when they move a person out who's been with the company for 40 years and knows almost where all the skeletons are buried, and then can tell you what the best decision is because we tried those things back in 1995 and they didn't work. So we're doing it differently this time. Well, yeah, AI is the next little bubble like Web3 or something. And we've got to, stop thinking about this as a replacement for humans. It's going to be a tool we use, but we're getting told that it's going to change the world, and I don't believe it's going to. And so I'm not a Luddite in that sense. I'm a conscientious objector because I think it's slow. Yeah, let's slow things down here. Let's look at the financing of all this stuff and all the money that's being scooped up out of the economy to do this AI game, and see if it's not benefiting everybody. Why are we doing this? If they can show me real benefit, I'm there. But both MIT and Harvard business haven't seen any increase in productivity.
So you're talking specifically about AI. I would broaden it and push back and just say that when we think about technology writ large, it is fundamentally
But
changed.
we did this with desktop computers at everybody's work desk, and then suddenly they were spending more time handling the computer than they were doing their job.
Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting it's a.
But then as they learned to use the thing as a tool, they got better at it.
Right.
And now they can't work without a computer.
Well, so, and this is where Vic's comment comes in, and then John, I'll pop you up. Vic says, devices don't steal time. We freely give it up.
Yes.
I think it is so important to remember the humanity in this conversation,
And
that
our
we can blame
responsibility, yeah.
technology all we want, but at the end of the day, it does not steal time. We freely give it up. That sort of says it all. Go ahead, John, please.
Well, I just wanted to make the bet with David when he said he's not going to change in the future. I'll take that bet on it's going to change.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Lois, go ahead.
We'll have to specify both the amount and the details. But yeah, I'll take that bet too.
Go ahead, Lois.
So if we go back to the question, who gets to say no to technology? And David Paskin, in passing, mentioned a religious exemption. Now, I know that there are people whose religions forbid them to do certain things. I mean, there are folks who drive around in buggies instead of using cars and that sort of thing. And so are they required to drive if their religion says that they can't? Well, no. So what happens if there's a religion that says, I can't use a telephone, or I can't use a computer, or whatever the thing is that we're talking about as far as technology goes? If there were such a religion and there were a religious exemption, well, then what about people who have their own beliefs and requests and requirements, who say, I, not this church, but I don't want to use a telephone, or I don't want my kids to have an iPad at school to do schoolwork on. So at what point do we allow individuals to make their own choices, and as a community accept those choices for them?
So if this is, to me, the religious, the whole idea of religious grounds for refusal is such a slippery slope. And I'll give you a real life example, which happens to me all the time. I'm a rabbi. I kind of know the Jewish stuff pretty good. And I have families come to me and ask if we accept religious exemptions for immunizations for children. And my answer to them is, I'm so sorry, but we don't. We only accept medical exemptions. What I don't say to them, but I say under my breath, is, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, that you think that Judaism in any way, shape, or form would give you a religious exemption. There's nothing in Jewish literature, in Jewish texts, that would allow you to not give your children the vaccination. So we use religious exemption not because we're religious, but because we have strongly held beliefs. And so the parent who doesn't want their kid using the iPad, or the parent who, or the adult who doesn't want to, use a phone or a computer for work, whether that's an official religious grounds or not, I think doesn't matter. They will use that, or they will use any of these other, the civic, the labor, the Dave's conscientious objection. I don't know that people are going to need an excuse to say, you know what, it's enough. I can do this work, but I'm not going to do it that way. Tamara, go ahead.
I think we do give, I mean, the truth of the matter is you have lots of choices in your life. You have plenty of choices to use or not use in majority parts of your life. If you don't want a desk job that requires a computer, don't get a desk job that requires a computer. Like, there's lots of different ways, even schools. There are a lot of different options for schools.
Well, yeah,
You
but
don't
the
want-
argument, Tamara, is that the jobs that we know, the job that I know how to do is
Mhm.
changing. And there is going to come a point where I won't be able to do my job without X, Y, or Z, without these certain technological tools.
I feel like the problem with the conversation right now is that even within the AI industry, and I'm just speaking specifically about AI, but this has been true of pick any technology in the history of time, is that we have boomers and doomers, right? So even within the industry, we have very loud voices voicing their perspective on this situation. And I think for lay people who are not involved in, who don't have that inside access, then it is very difficult to figure out, like, what does this mean, right? Because at the moment, we don't actually, in all of this craziness, we know that things are going to change. We know that some jobs are even going away now, let alone, like, we don't have to wait for them. We're seeing them go away. But this also has the same feel in some ways of of .com stuff. There right now it's just expensive, and it doesn't have a like serious return on investment in a lot of ways, because that's one of the reasons that they're even having to have a discussion of who gets it, because it's costing too much for lay people to ask a bunch of questions when, and use up tokens and do all these things, use up space on servers for stuff that is nonsensical compared to some of the other things that AI is able to do. So that's part of the problem, is that we don't really have an infrastructure for it. And we've got two factions within the industry saying, this is terrible, or this is like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I think that's very confusing for lay people.
Yeah. Tony, jump in.
I apologize. I'm actually signed in as Dr. Idelson. So I've been raising my hand for a while. So apologies. Dr. Idelson is coming up a lot of times. It's me coming in as him. So apologies for that, if that threw you off, Dr. Idelson. I really want to go back just for a quick second about the phone situation in schools. It's problematic for me from this standpoint. I believe that parents should be able to not call their children, but their children should be able to call them if something happens during the school day that might be dangerous. And so from that standpoint, I think that students should be able to have their phones, whether they're turned off, where they could turn them on if needed. So I think that's an issue for me. And the other part of that same conversation is that there are several cases here in Georgia where there was abuse by the educators taking place, and that if it were not for students observing some other student being persecuted, that no one would ever know. So I think that there is an argument for trying to figure out a balance in the way in which we look at technology and, those who don't want any technology in place. I think that we just really have to push hard for there to be a balance. And part of that is because the human condition is still struggling with those things that are ethical. And not only are we bringing in those things that are ethically compromising, there is an issue of the AI being a gatekeeper. And there are several suits where people have applied for positions and the AI has weeded the people out of the interview process, not even getting an interview, and this is documented. There are cases that are being before the court right now. So again, the biases that we have to be careful about having balance. And I just wanted to just push that envelope. I think that's important.
Thank you so much. Will the real John Edelson please stand up?
If I could find my mute button. Tony, I agree with you that there are dangers with the AI when it gets into personnel, but we don't want to have a rosy picture to think that prior to the AI, the humans were doing a great job of being fair and equal and true and honest. So probably the biases and the problems that we have are just the AI having learned from the humans who are pretty imperfect at that process. But I do think there is a risk in any time when you have this AI technology that at a certain point, the humans may not be able to understand all the things that it's doing. And I think that's the sort of research that needs to be done, is how do you keep track of these systems to know what they're doing? And we've had some articles about where AI has gone off the rails, but I think this is going to be a greater risk the smarter it gets.
So this possible religious grounds, this article that I had discovered suggested that there were really 4 areas that could cause concern for people, and some of them are what we're talking about right now: property and truth. So a person may believe that using systems built from uncompensated or pirated work or obscuring machine authorship makes them a participant in exploitation or deception. I've gotten that pushback directly in Facebook groups that I'm in, where I tout, how I use it and I love it and I check everything, but I use it and people say, "Oh no, it's pirated. It's you're stealing, and you're not being honest about where it comes from." Stewardship of creation, the energy, water, and local effects of large-scale computing, absolutely, I think, conflict with the duties to protect the natural world. Human dignity and meaningful work, it replaces human judgment. Craft or relationship with automation may be understood as diminishing the special worth of persons. And finally, opposition to the idolatry of efficiency. This is my problem. This is where I run into problems. Religious traditions frequently challenge systems that make profit, speed, or power into ultimate values. I don't know if it's a system, but I absolutely make speed and efficiency an ultimate value for myself. And these tools help me do things faster. Now,
but they also help you, David, not just do things faster. It allows you to have more creativity and gives you more time to be thinking. Like, some of the ways that you've used technology is to make things faster. It's certainly not taking less of your time. You've done a lot of time to make that efficient, but it also is to promote humanity in a way, right? Giving your teachers a tool that allows them to spend more time observing their students and quickly takes away the friction of how to get those notes down is not a trade-off of humanity. It actually creates space for people to do better work, more human work. So I think that both things can be true, and I understand both sides, but I do think that that if technology is a tool, then if it's a tool to promote, to allow you to have more free time to do what? Spend time with your family, to do, to imagine a world that solves some friction points for you, that it gives you time and space. The challenge is that really going to be true? Because that's what email was, the promise. I say this all the time. Email was the promise that we were going to finally get more time out of the office, and we won't be stuffing things into inner office envelopes. We won't have to have runners and all of these wonderful things that we used to have. And it didn't. I have 60,000 emails. Like, now I have emails upon emails. So that's the challenge, is to be utilizing technology in a way that is allowing you to free open space and to imagine a better world, right? Imagine a way for people to be able to be more present. The tool that you made for us allows us to not have 50 million windows open because I have both chats open at the same time, and I don't have to be shifting around. It allows me to be more present in the conversation. Also, it allows me to be more present in both of the chats. So if a tool is allowing you to be more human and to open up communication, then that's not necessarily a bad thing.
So let me, Lois, I'm hoping it'll be okay if I throw a question your way.
Always.
And here's the question. The question is, I want to try and flip this conversation on its head and ask, when should we push back on the modern day Luddites? Like at what point should we are all here technologists, I guess, we all appreciate and work in technology or use technology. I almost said religiously, a lot. So you're an employer and someone comes to you and says, I don't want to use Google Drive. I'd rather write things down. I don't want to use, or I don't want to use Zoom chat. I'd really rather just have stickies or whatever it is. At what point should we say, this is the way of the world? Catch up.
Boy, you ask hard questions. So I'm on a number of committees in my meeting, and we get together and we do things. And there are some folks who say, I will never use anything Google. Now that's something that I've heard. They don't mind using other things, but they just don't like that Google. They're boycotting Google. And so our community has decided to put all of our archives on Google Drive. So if they won't use it, then they will be unable to get to and see and participate in things. So if I were an employer, I would probably say you have to use something. And if you can come up with an alternative that works with everybody else, it's like when everybody in a company is using Windows and I come in with my Mac and I don't have Microsoft Word, but I've got something that will read Word documents and write Word documents, so I can do my bit without having to use that Windows machine. So I guess I would say, if there's an alternative, a reasonable alternative, then I would accommodate them. If there is no reasonable alternative, then I would say I would have made that a condition of employment.
Right.
In other words, you have to do X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And if they don't want to be employed doing X, Y, or Z, then that's their choice.
Right. Tamara said, in as much that you wrote in the chat, Tamara, a company has the right to set rules of engagement for their organization. Absolutely. Yeah. Dave, go ahead.
So I've actually, spent years dealing with this because I was head of a nonprofit organization, and there were many people who did not want to use the email address that we gave them. They didn't want to use the drive storage that we gave them. They didn't want their remarks shared and this sort of thing. And I had to explain to them that, there are laws in our country for nonprofit organizations to keep records of what it is we're doing in order for it to be audited at some point. And all meetings have to have a minutes taker, and that minutes has to be available on the public for anybody to look into our organization. So I had to make everyone aware of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture on an individual industries basis is that we do this for the benefit of everybody. And if you don't want to participate in the benefit of everybody, we have other jobs you can do, but they're not going to be as interesting as what you're doing now. And we have, professional societies setting standards for things to be done. We have professional organizations who support the professions themselves and establish the regulations and rules. The psychological profession even publishes a diagnostic book every once in a while. So if you want to be outside that box, you're leaving a lot on the table that you could benefit from. And I think we all have to, I bring this up, what is it, every third show or something, I bring this up. So we have a personal responsibility to keep up with things and to be able to understand what's going on in our world. And we can't let our children down by being ignorant of those things, because it's their world now. I'm way past being the guy in charge. And I've had a lot of young people under my supervision, and they come right out of college and they think they're going to take over the world, and I just support that. But I'll go so far in terms of supporting it. So there are some people in my community who I understand are limited in their ability. They're either neurodivergent or they have some difficulty understanding even the basics of what a community is. And so I let them use their own understanding, and then we bring that into the larger group. And if they are disruptive or becoming difficult for reasons that don't have an explanation, then I freeze them out, because we're not getting a benefit from that person if they're not participating. And I think we have to be active participants in our community. We have to be pushing to get things better for our neighbors and for the people around us, and to make sure that, what is going to happen in the future has some sort of control over its impact on us. So I don't know where the impact's going to come from, and I don't know yet what the changes are going to be. I've seen what's happened in the past, and if it echoes at least or rhymes with what has happened in the past, then I'm going to have to, find a new way through. And hopefully I'll find a way that other people adopt, and then we all work at it together. Cory Doctorow, in his talk with Jon Stewart, talked about how there were a lot of people who sacrificed in the 20s, and some of them were killed by Pinkerton men for forming unions and getting rights to be able to work and protect their jobs and their lives on the workplace. Well, we can do that again. If you're a Luddite, you want to smash the machine, I would rather find a way to understand how the machine's going to benefit us, how it's going to risk things with us, and then we work a way in the middle between that and make it work for us. And if you think it's always going to be working against you, then we have to figure out how that's working. If the overlords are not machines, but cigar smoking CEOs, then we've got that problem and we can fix it. I don't believe we're ever going to have a system which is out of control or takes away jobs or all that stuff. And, John and I are going to have an arm wrestle at some point in the next 20 years about whether that's the right answer or not. But when we fail to take personal responsibility and say, oh, I'm not going to participate, I'm not going to be in there, I think it's all bad. Well, I heard that with television and taking kids out of, school because they were using television to teach with and that sort of stuff. And we are a community. It goes without saying. And here we're embracing. And I find that the reason I keep coming back here. If we were all here complaining all the time, I don't think I'd spend a lot of time with you guys. But I see positives from everybody through this whole conversation, that there's something good coming out of this, that we don't have to let the big noises, the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Sam Altmans of this world, tell us how we feel about things. That's for us. We got to take care of that ourselves. And if there's people who rely on us for those kind of opinions, we've got to be fair to them to say, yes, it is difficult to understand, but if you bear with me, there's going to be a solution and I can help you find it.
Tony, take it away.
I want to apologize if I come across as being redundant. there is an inherent problem with a school system, in my opinion, of saying that they are going to do away with technology. And part of the reason for that, for me, is that there continues to be a digital divide that is not going away. If anything, it's getting worse. And so if you take a school system, and you make the decision that there's going to be no technology in the school, the people that are a part of that school system that don't have access or resources outside of the school setting don't have access to the technology. And you might say, well, they'll get it at home on their devices. Well, at home they may not have the devices. One of the things that we have to take in consideration, even before this whole technology thing existed, is that when people have resources, they are able to enrich their lives of their children by making sure that they have, let's going back to my day, the Encyclopedia Britannica or the World Book Encyclopedia, they brought that into their home so that their children would have access to additional resources and not have to go to the library all the time or wait in line for a book to come back that someone else had taken out. And my argument is that there is a similar situation that exists today, and that we know that people who are privileged have the opportunity. Well, if there's no technology in school, don't worry about it. We'll have the technology here. Even though I don't even like Apple products, I'm going to have an Apple computer in the house so that my child has exposure to it, whether or not I'm particularly fond of it. Vice versa for Windows. Whatever the technology might be, parents are going to do, when they have the resources, to make sure that whatever's going on in the education system can be supported for their children outside of the school setting. And my argument is that there are parents who might love to be able to provide additional support for their children, but they're trying to figure out how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to take care of the medical needs or whatever else that might be going on. And so, again, I'm pushing this envelope of, as far as technology is in school, let's have a balance. Let's look at it being as a tool and a resource to make sure that everybody has exposure.
Lois, Lois, I'm gonna give you the final word.
I keep coming back to on lots of our discussions. I keep coming back to how can we fix it? And I don't think we can fix the AI situation, but maybe we can do something to help those people who are unable to participate. So training and discussion and encouragement and all that sort of stuff, and getting resources to people who need those resources and don't have them. And all of those things are things that we as a community and as a culture can do. So even if I'm a Luddite, I can still help with the rest of it.
And with that, thank you, Lois, for this suggestion. Thank you, John and Tony, Tamara, Dave, everyone for coming tonight. Really, really enjoyed talking with you. I don't feel quite so guilty about sometimes feeling a little Luddite-ish. For those of you who are not Luddites, tomorrow morning, office hours will be back. We'll be answering your questions. Make sure to join us over in Mukana or on YouTube. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be back in the kitchen, the Zoom Test Kitchen, beating and banging on Zoom Test Kitchen. I will be reporting back on creating my first Zoom app in the Zoom Marketplace, which is not approved yet, so there's nothing really to report. But I will tell you about that journey, and then we will be back here next Thursday night, just like we are every Thursday. And I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Everyone who's watching in the chat, Mukana on YouTube, Roscoe, everybody, good to see you. Have a good one. Bye.